The other station claims to be local. Since when is Glendale local? KCAA News Talk 1050, your true local station.
I want you to do me a favor.
Yeah, sure.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
You're entering a world of pain. Whole world gone crazy!
Are you a god?
Let's get to it.
Cause I got nothing to do. The bad. The evil.
5 o'clock, Friday, Nothing to Do Radio coming at you.
The evil.
If you want to go online, check out my website, follow along with the show, and even give me some instant feedback through our chat room, it's nothingtodoradio.com. KCAA 1050 AM is my station for today. If you want to join in and have some fun on this lovely show this hour, it's 888-909-1050. Going to be getting into a few topics. We're going to basically be going all around the bend. But I first want to start with I have my first flaking of a guest. And I don't really know how to deal with it. I don't know how professionals deal with things, but I'm not really professional in most of my other professions. So I'll start with you're a douchebag, dude. Brian Perkins, who was my guest, he's a comedian. He's a current opener for the Last Comic Standing winner. Very attractive chick. I should have probably hit her up and probably had the same outcome of getting dropped last minute. It's an email. It's a phone call. It's a tweet. It's a Craigslist posting. It's something for you to tell me I'm not going to be on, so don't plan any part of your show around me. But thankfully, you're not that big of a comedian where I really planned a lot of my show around you, so it wasn't going to be a big interview. I knew basically it was going to be, hey, people always told me I was funny, so I decided to go to a few open mics. And that was pretty much going to be the end of that interview. The crowd doesn't like it. It's my subconscious. Tell me I'm doing a horrible job. But yeah, that's prick status right there, man. You got to let me know. Last week I had a bowel movement doctor on that I spent more time prepping for, just to let you know, just to kind of give you that little feeling if you're listening. And if you want to call in and tell me why you didn't come in, I'd love to know. And don't tell me traffic. 888-909-1050. We can have a little argument. But either way, I got to get into this show. We got to get into the more fun stuff. So that was already put me in a fun mood. I just feel like the ugly girl waiting at the door, you know. I bought a new dress.
At prom?
Yeah. Prom last week. Prom or even, yeah, like let's say prom. Let's say you have this guy who, you know, he's not that attractive. He's third string. And he said he's gonna take you out and maybe even bump your popularity a little bit because maybe he does have a little niche, an online niche of fans. You're waiting at the door. You're excited. You're gonna go see a new movie, maybe an Ethan Hawke movie, and you're waiting. And 5 minutes go and 10 minutes go, and your excuses start getting more ridiculous. At first, it's like, oh, maybe he just the water was off and he had to wait for it to get turned back on, or he had to go light the pilot for the water to heat up. And then as a half hour goes by and an hour goes by, you quickly realize that you're not going to prom that year. That's kind of what I feel like. I'm more on the angry side, though. I'm not as sad. I'm not going to go run to my mom and dad and need You're
not traumatized for the rest of your life?
I don't think I am. I don't think I'll ever talk to another guest again. No, I don't think I will be. I'm just not going to go for third-string comedians anymore, stand-up comics anymore.
Makes sense.
By the way, ones that hit me up. Let's go back to the prom analogy. The guy asked you out. The guy begged you out to help him out. And,
that's not good networking skills.
No, that's horrible, dude. And seriously, man, if you're really trying to come up right now and you're having to put in your dues, I don't care if you're driving from L.A. I don't care if you're driving from Santa Monica. I had a musician on here a few weeks ago who's now opening up for James Taylor and Carole King. She drove out here with just her guitar and her hatchback and rolled in and played and had some great responses now. We got all of her live performances, Joe Ellis, on our YouTube account, and even through nothingtodoradio.com. She made that trip. She ruled. She got some great publicity, and she's now been performing the last few weeks at some great clubs around here. So you might have blew a chance, dude. I'm not saying, I'm not Mark Levin or Sean Hannity, but you still, you got to start somewhere. And if you're telling me you're 6 months in and you're already cutting off gigs because of traffic, I don't know, dude. I think I think you're in for a world of hurt.
Now I gotta wonder, is he new to L.A. or Inland Empire traffic?
No, I think he's from where you're from, Rob. I think he's from the Huntington Beach, Costa Mesa area.
And traffic's his His excuse?
I haven't gotten an email. I haven't gotten an excuse or a reason. All I know is I promoted this douchebag Brian Perkins for the last week on my website, Twitter. 16,000 Twitter followers, by the way. Constantly, I was throwing your name out, your gigs. That's all getting erased, dude. And you didn't get that many retweets.
You could have hitched a ride from me.
The only replies you got really was who? That was really the only replies from my Twitter followers. But you suck, dude. And I don't really care. Maybe when I get more professional, I'll be telling it to your publicist that you suck. But for right now, let's get into Nothing to Do Radio. I realize now the last few days that I feel better in the morning, and it's because I'm not going to say I quit drinking, but I stopped drinking as much, and for simply the fact that it started to scramble my brains, where it was hard for me to kind of rehab myself the next day and really get up and running, to the point where every day was a hangover. I mean, it really felt like your body was playing catch up, and your mind was just not with it, and it was cloudy, and you were always trying to get well. And I'm not saying I drank heavily or anything like that, but I drank enough where it was becoming a problem. It was becoming a thing where if a good movie came on, it was automatically like, oh, I got to go pour myself a drink and enjoy this good movie. Or if during sex, all of a sudden I just said, you know what, this reminds me of I have to go get a drink. Almost everything I started to pair with drinking at night, relaxing. I had a long day, I should make a drink. I sat in a lot of traffic, Brian Perkins, you prick. I have to make a drink. I started matching too many things with it, so I decided that's not good. I don't want to have an addiction. If the zombie apocalypse does pop off, I don't want to have anything I'm addicted to, because that's just gonna be another thing I have to ration off with the group. So I dropped that, and I realized, though, one of my last cool things that I did do when I was drunk and watching a good/bad movie was I was watching Desperado. Desperado's a fantastic movie. Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek.
Great movie.
Salma Hayek naked, by the way. I think it was her. People want to tell me it's not her.
Oh, it is her.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes,
Stop.
you are correct.
I hate people that do that. You know that's not really her. You know she used a butt double. Shut up. Who are you helping? Shut up. Why are you telling me this information? It was Salma, period. Yes, it was Salma Hayek naked, guys. Desperado. And one of the best characters in it is Machete himself, Danny Trejo. He's an assassin, and his main weapons are throwing knives. So while I'm drunk and watching Desperado and watching Machete kick some ass, I popped on Amazon. Never a good thing when you go on Amazon when you're drunk.
No.
Dude, that one click to buy button is the worst.
If you already have your card
you're
connected
set
to the account.
Yeah, and you don't have to do the "Are you sure?" But all it is you press that button, boom, you're in. I decided to go on Amazon and look at some throwing knives. From what I know, most weapons, like most swords, like I have a Kill Bill sword. I have Bud's sword from Kill Bill that Bill gave him as a gift. It has the inscription, "The only man I ever loved, Bud, the only man I ever loved, Bill," has that inscribed. They're relatively not too expensive, mainly because they're not really war ready. they're just they're for show. So I bought the throwing knives. I think it was something like $15, and I completely forgot a few days later when all of a sudden I got a package, and to my surprise, when I opened it up and saw that I had ordered throwing knives.
What a wonderful surprise!
That's the best blackout. That's like a girl blacking out at a party, and she has sex and she's all bummed. She knows she had sex, but then a few days later, like Colin Farrell calls her, like, "Hey, we hooked up." It's like, what a wonderful surprise. That's the equivalent, throwing knives.
That's the same.
They don't work as I quickly realized that it's hard to throw throwing knives. It ain't that easy. It ain't darts. You think it's darts. You're like, I'm all right at darts. I can just kind of toss them. It's tough, dude. You take it out the trees. They make a lot of noise. I tried to do it on my patio. Ding, 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 ding. Every 2 seconds. Ding, 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 ding. You never hit. I
you don't
I've
have your ninja
one.
skills yet,
no.
Basically.
I've hit 1 out of 20 times, and right now they're sitting up. But some good things can come out of drinking. So that's one of them. Cool purchases. But I'm going to switch up topics here because, of course, I had Brian Perkins in, and I was going to start off with a fun, lovely topic with him that he can maybe work off of. But knowing him, he was just probably going to go into his act, and I was going to have to listen to that crap for 10 minutes. So I'm going to switch things up for the show. First segment, I actually want to talk about race. A fun topic that
NASCAR?
No.
Oh,
race baiting.
Got it.
You know what? Actually, even before we get into that, I saw something walking in here. I want to start with the funny before I go into the race, but I can make race funny, people. I'm really good. Jimmy Fallon show last night. It's freaking hilarious. Have you seen this, Rob? This video he made of the news anchor Brian Williams. somebody took a bunch of different clips from Brian Williams doing his newscast and turned it into a Nothing But a G thing by Dr. Dre and Snoop. It's perfect. Hit that for me, man. It's awesome.
All right, let's see. Whoa, wrong button.
Number 3.
Got it.
1, 2, 3 up to the 4th. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the door. Means nothing but a G thing. A, B, 2, woked out. G, so we're praised. C, death row is the label that pays for me, so just shield. To the next episode.
That's pretty awesome. Come on.
That's some time and dedication right
there.
Dude,
that like falls into the category of like, it's so simple, why didn't I think of that? Genius. That's even something that great and awesome, within a week we're going to forget about it. I'm going to put it into my intro next week's show and no one's going to know what the hell I'm talking about. NothingToDoRadio.com. You want to call in 888-909-1050. An issue of race came up this week. And it's one of those circumstances where a group wants to sit down, kind of calm the audience, calm the country, and let us know that don't you get anything twisted. We are a very racist society. And that it shocks me because I usually think that even the conservatives in this country are pretty progressive in certain areas with specifically social issues. Even the most hardcore conservatives, and I'm separating that maybe from hardcore religious, tend to be a little bit more progressive with social issues. A lot of people now are caring less and less about gay community, gay marriage. They're just kind of looking at it like, if it's not affecting me, if you're a tax-paying, red-blooded American citizen, you can do what you want. And honestly, I even think that's kind of a conservative value. My main conservative value is I less government. I don't want them involved in my life. So I think all my social issues having to do with not caring about gay marriage, not caring about weed, that it goes with I don't want the government involved. They're idiots. I don't want them mandating more. I don't want more regulations, and I definitely don't want them popping in and saying who we can and can't hook up with. But the groups. These certain groups like to tell us that we are not as advanced as we'd like to. Cheerios, lovely Cheerios. Who doesn't love Cheerios? Or from when I was young, Cheerios, because we didn't get the good Cheerios. My mom didn't spring for the extra 65 cents for the Cheerios. We had to get the Tastio Cheerios brand. The brand's in the bag, not the box. Cheerios came out with a commercial this week, and it pretty much shows a daughter and a mother in a kitchen. Talking to each other about where's dad, and the camera pans over to the father on the couch with a bunch of Cheerios on his chest, and him just kind of eating them one at a time, napping, kind of watching the TV. Just kind of, I guess the meaning of the commercial was it's a healthy snack. It's good for dad's heart. And that's all I really saw about it. And most people, I think, just saw it like that. It was just a commercial with the family. But someone had to remind us, well, it was an interracial couple. The woman was white, and the father was black, and the little daughter was biracial. That had to be brought up to us and say, people have an issue with this. No one said, I have an issue with this. Someone popped up and said, people have an issue with this. So this immediately turns into a frenzy of, we're not ready for this as a society. I realize that commercials they're what we do here. They're radio. They're broadcasting. You tend to try to broadcast to as broad of an audience as possible. African Americans make up, I think last time I checked, 13% of the country. So honestly, in most circumstances, blacks aren't portrayed as much in commercials and even TV shows and things as most people would like, and most people would kind of write it off as racist. But honestly, it doesn't make up what they're trying to broadcast to. If they want to show that their product can be in your home as wonderful it was showed in the commercial, they might show a suburban white family, or if they're advertising for on BET, then they might show a black family, because that tends to be who's watching. It's honestly as simple as business. It's not a social issue. It's just a business decision. Me doing this show, nothing to do. I'm a younger guy. I tend to have younger views. My audience tends to be younger, so I'm probably not going to be throwing out a lot of mod and All in the Family references, because that kind of falls out of my genre of people listening. But I don't think people had an issue with this. I don't think people had issue with the biracial family. I honestly think that no one really even notices this except the most liberal of people. The people actually making these commercials who, in their own way, they're being racial a lot more subversive than someone burning a cross in their front yard. They're doing it because it's kind of a superiority thing. It's saying blacks should have an issue with this because whites may have an issue with this, so now we have to make a commercial to try to create an issue because they don't really know what's being done to them, so let's remind them what's being done to them. It's a weird thing that goes on not only in media and not only in politics, but in schools. I mean, I have friends, and I even have a girlfriend who works in the college school system. It's the most liberal as possible. She was given a project, right, Rob? She was given a project. The project was to go speak with someone who was a different ethnicity than yourself. That's a pretty, I think it was some poli-sci. That's I heard that phrase before. That's a class, right?
That is a class. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't take that.
Go talk with someone other than a race of yours. So they went out. This was a college in Orange County. They went out and they completed the assignment. Now most of her people in her class were it was Asian, whites, Latins, a lot of Latins actually in her college, but not as many African Americans for whichever reason. I'm not going to get into that break right now. When they came back and they had completed their assignments, and again, the people they spoke with, they were Middle Eastern, they were Indian, Korean, every part of Asia. The teacher basically threw the papers aside, had the whole class kind of settle down, and lambasted them for why didn't they talk with more African Americans. And the classmates basically said, well, there's not as many. Again, it's a small percentage, 13% in the entire country, and even less of a percentage that sadly graduate high school and even sadly then go on to college. It's not that great of a percentage. It's not racial. They didn't do it to be racist. They didn't do it because they didn't want to be around black people. Trust me, they would have got extra credit. They would have went the extra mile to do it. They just did it because that's who they saw was a lot of other Asians and a lot, and even the Asians in the class. They talked to a lot of white people. None of that counted because why didn't you talk with black people? Why didn't you talk with poor black people? This is a rich white professor telling the class, why didn't you talk with the poor black man? This isn't the black people complaining. The black people in the class didn't raise their hand and say, I want to know why no one interviewed me. Yeah. I want to know why I wasn't sat down and taken out to Starbucks. I like Starbucks. Most people think black people can't swim and don't like Starbucks. Untrue about the Starbucks. I don't think they can swim, though. I think that's true. But, it wasn't black people raising the issue. It was rich white people. It was a rich white professor. It was an educated idiot who, I don't know if the reason is if it's a compassion issue. Is that where it comes down to, you think, with these people?
I think speaking as a white man, as far as white people go, I think to prove to people that we're not racist, we go above and beyond for another race sometimes in their defense when they don't need it, just to show I'm not racist.
No, I completely agree. And I think that with most black people, they kind of just write it off, but it does ignite a few of them.
Some people get annoyed, but yeah, and it makes sense. This is the exact same thing that's happening with the Redskins.
Uh-oh.
You've heard what's going on with the NFL team, the Redskins?
Change the name?
Because, from what I've read, there's no one Native American complaining that this NFL team is called the Redskins.
No, and you know what I think of it how it starts is these groups, GLAAD, NAMBLA, who you showed me you're a card carrying NAMBLA member.
I did.
No, but places.
All right then.
People like GLAAD and people like NAACP, they start off with good intentions. Black people were absolutely treated like crap here. As short as 40 years ago. They fought for issues such as voting and things that make sense, things that help. But once those issues are resolved, once the black people get to share the water fountain and get to go to school with us, or once the gays, I've went over it many times. I have a gay couple that lives above me. I guarantee you, the apartments didn't care that there was two men moving in together. That they sadly can't get married yet, but they'd have no issue purchasing a house together. These groups start off well intentions. Even as far as to PETA. PETA starts with good intentions. PETA's idea is a lot of people their main ideal, their objective. a lot of people, of course, would agree with. Don't abuse animals. You know, they didn't even really start off too much with don't eat animals. It was basically don't beat them to death and then cook them up. Let's make sure that you kill them quick as possible. Let's make sure things are humane. Now it goes off the point where all these groups are just obnoxious, and they start issues because once those major issues are fixed, they don't disband. These groups don't go, all right, we're done. We got that wrapped up. Let's go ahead and go home now. They're the person at the job who, let's say you're done with your work, but you still have 2 more hours left to work, and you want to get paid for those 2 more hours. You kind of find stuff to do, and that's what these groups seem like they do. They find issues.
So this is about money.
Yeah, it's about money, and it's about keeping a profession that is a pretty easy profession. You're a professional bitcher.
I wonder, from what you said before, the super liberal, meaning that they want to save the world.
Yeah.
And they're looking for alleys with danger, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like just going from place to place, and if they see even the smallest thing, they want to attack it.
Well, this is too what they can do with African Americans, and I'm going to get back to the commercial that I was talking about, the Cheerios commercial, which is the main issue that came out this week. It was an interracial couple, black father, white wife, interracial daughter, and people are saying that we're in an uproar. I'm not in an uproar, but you know what this makes me do, actually, Rob? This makes me think. Am I racist? I'm a white male, you know. Am I as racist as all these people are saying? I've never done anything racist, other than talk about certain racial points. No, I've never really. I know how I feel in my heart, but this makes you start questioning it. So go. I start saying it does kind of sometimes bother me. I would realize it does bother me sometimes if I'm in a mall and I see a black guy and an attractive girl. I get kind of like, damn it. I get that feeling. And I would always think when stuff like this comes up, I go, I must be a racist. I don't think I'm thinking that because I'm racist. Because honestly, when I see another guy with a pretty girl and the guy could be any race, I still go, damn it. It's because someone is with an attractive girl and it's kind of like, good job. You tied that down.
I think that, at least for me, the whole thing with racism.
You don't have to hold the Nazi flag while you're saying this, Rob.
Okay.
Put the flag down. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
We get it.
All right. So, okay. As it pertains to color,
right?
I think that's died. That has died since the 70s, I think. As
Absolutely.
Far as I hate you because your skin is dark and God said you shouldn't be in church, kind of a southern.
That's gone. Yes.
I think that's gone because I really think that we just hate each other. America hates each other.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it used to be. Women, as a rule, hate each other and always and rivalry. I think now everybody just hates. Because me, it's the same thing. I'll have that thought with any race. I think it's just because I don't like any of them. It's not because I'll do it to white folk too. It has nothing to do with, their skin's dark, so what they're doing right now must be why they're that stupid. It must be because they're black.
Right.
That thought doesn't cross my mind.
No,
I doubt that crosses anyone's mind. So as far as that goes, I think racism, the word racist, needs to be tossed. We're just a bunch of haters, or whatever you want to call it. At least that's just my opinion on it, which counts completely on your show. Yeah,
I think it goes back to exactly. It's not the blatant I don't like you because you're this. We can even go to I'm 100% Irish. It would be ridiculous for me to be up here and saying. Using 100 years ago when Irish people had rocks thrown out their head as soon as they got off the boat, and they were constantly everybody talked about how they were covered in lice and not to give them work. If I still brought those issues up now, people would think I'm crazy, and I honestly think most black people wouldn't bring up those blatant racist issues about them because they probably don't happen. I don't think they're eyed in stores as much as honestly rich white people say that they are. Yeah. I think that it's maybe a class issue, and I think that's even with what these media groups do is they look at the percentage of the people who maybe aren't doing as well as others, just straight statistically, dropout rates and things like that, and they automatically think something's wrong here. It can't be. We can't blame this group because God forbid to start that firestorm. They'll never actually. They want to cause controversy, but they're not going to cause that kind of controversy. It's like things with like Lady Gaga, where she'll sit there and come out dressed like a nun and with blood all over her and act like she's so controversial. She would never do that come dressed up like a Muslim. She would never go that controversial because that's just starting something that's too hard to put out and it's too touchy of a subject. Yeah, the rich white folk will like this commercial. they'll sit there and go, we'll create this commercial. We'll do it because it's nice. It's nice to see something other than just, the Cleavers and Leave It to Beaver in a commercial. It's good putting in an interracial family, and it does kind of make up what America is. America is a melting pot. That's not going to be denied. But then bringing it up that we have an issue with this because we should have an issue with this. We shouldn't like this because we're so out of it. And when every other ADT commercial that I see, honestly, the person breaking in is a white guy. And even white people don't even have issues with that because we don't care. It's not big enough to affect us. And maybe people will argue, well, that's because your group is doing well. That's because your group is in charge. And so you're not going to be affected by this. Black people, you guys who aren't doing as well, this should bother you. And if you don't think it's bothering you, let us remind you, you're not smart enough to know that this should bother you. And they kind of create it, and they create an irony that, they're doing well. Black people are doing better now than they've ever been. We got a black person in the White House, for Christ's sake. The list.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, half black, but from Hawaii.
When did that?
I think it happened a few years ago.
I gotta do some reading.
Yeah, I know you voted. You voted for. I think you voted for Osama. I think but
no,
yeah.
Definitely not.
You wrote it in. Yeah, but that's the whole issue with that, and it's going to even go into my next segment when we're talking a little bit about the death penalty. One of the villains, Southern California villains of the last 20 years, died today. Richard Ramirez, warm in a hospital bed. So I'm going to talk about the death penalty and maybe why some of those groups, why do they attack the death penalty so much? Maybe it's because they're an underdog. And liberals love fighting for the underdog. We'll be back. NothingToDoRadio.com. Go check us out. 888-909-1050. We'll be back after this.
Nothing to do.
I hope you're enjoying the show, but how'd you like to capitalize on this here fine program? Nothing to Do is currently interested in new advertisers. If you have an online or local business and are interested in increasing your customers, then how about getting some ad time on a popular radio show? Go to NothingToDoRadio.com for details on how you can get involved with the show. 30-second commercial spots, live reads, Twitter and Facebook shoutouts, and premium ad space on our website, all for a ridiculously low price. Again, if you're looking to advertise, go to NothingToDoRadio.com and let's get started with you supporting a great show and getting people in the door.
Real talk for real people, right here in the Inland Empire. We are 1050 AM, KCAA.
Nothing to Do Radio. We are back. KCAA 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind. 888-909-1050. You want to jump in? I was supposed to have a guest sitting next to me, but he would have took up way too much space, and things would have got really warm. His body temperature heat would have automatically sucked all the moisture out of the room. So I'm happy he's not here. So Brian Perkins, thank you for blowing me off and not even sending me an email. Thanks for that, buddy. Love show business, folks. Rob in the booth. Do you have many childhood heroes? Could you list three, maybe?
Childhood. The Ninja Turtles, does that count?
That counts as four, but I'll say one. Who was your favorite, though? Raphael was the leader. Did you ever believe that hype?
I liked Raph because of his bad attitude.
He was temperamental. He was very temperamental. I loved Casey Jones myself. Was a little outskirt of a one.
I really couldn't stand him in the movie.
You didn't like him in the movie?
I didn't like the first scene because there's no way that he should have been able to beat hit a ninja
muggers
with a cricket.
Yeah.
With a rack, whatever the heck things, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. He, I think a hockey stick was what Casey Jones used,
No,
right?
Remember he said cricket? He's like, I know what a crumpet is to understand cricket.
Oh, I just remember the hockey mask, but he also used the hockey stick here and there. He used everything.
He did, yeah.
April O'Neil, of course, my first crush. I don't know why I started off with childhood heroes when I'm going to mention Richard Ramirez died today. I just wanted to throw people off.
What? Well, no. The people, the neighborhood that caught him and kicked the crap out of him, childhood heroes.
Nice, yeah. If people don't know, Richard Ramirez, old Tricky Dick, old Slick, old Blue Eyes, as he was known, or the Night Stalker, died today, warm in a hospital bed in a California prison. you know what I love too? He's 53. He died of natural causes, they say. Doesn't that just cheer you up? Someone who let's go over a little bit of his rap sheet. Some of his fun crimes. He a 9-year-old. He killed her in a basement. So that was good. 79-year-old. So he went all over the place. He didn't just stick with I think that's why it was tough to find him, because he didn't really stick with a straight modus operandi. 79-year-old Jenny Vincow was found dead in her apartment. She had been stabbed repeatedly and her throat was slashed so severely she was almost decapitated. Warm in his bed. He died today. That's awesome. February 1985, 2 sisters, aged 58 and 71, were found dead in their home. They were each stabbed dozens of times. And counting here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more times. Richard Ramirez killed people very, very brutally too. One of his fun things that he used to do was he would break into a home, he would murder the husband, and in front of the murdered husband, he would then rape the wife. And these women ranged from, as you heard before, ages 50 to 80. So he was a sick son of a bitch, or as I like to call, a broken cog in the wheel of society. He again died warm in his bed in a California prison today. He was God, the bastard bothers me. Just his look, his acne freaking pockmarked face, and his rotten teeth. And as Rob talked about, the people that chased him down.
Are you talking about the comedian?
No.
Ramirez.
Yes.
Got it. Just making sure.
Richard Ramirez.
Who cares?
I'm just bringing him up today because I read something even better above. He died today at 53. The line right below it. If he would have been executed, he would have been executed in his 70s. So he would have had a 20-year longer life expectancy through an execution. And that kind of that caught my fancy. And a few days ago, of course, the Colorado shooter, James Holmes, was the judge accepted his plea of insanity. So I'm asking right now, liberals. You people who don't think that execution works, which I don't understand how people can make that argument. It doesn't work. You're dead. You can't do anything else. It's like saying if you cut somebody's arms off, they'll still be a great baseball player. Except Jim Abbott, who was a pretty good pitcher with only one arm. But other than Jim Abbott, how do you say it doesn't? What's your end game here exactly, liberals? And I'm not a straight conservative dude. I'm all over the map. I have no issues again with gays or even abortions to an extent, because honestly, the same conservatives who are going to bitch about abortions are also going to bitch about when the baby's born, the welfare cost that it's going to cost to keep that family afloat. So I don't stick with that either. But I want to know, with execution, with these sick son of a bitches who do these horrendous things, who honestly you would never have an ounce of sympathy for if that was your grandmother or your mother or your aunt that he murdered. Or just raped and in front of the deceased corpse of your father or grandfather, you would never want that person alive. You would think about nothing other every night than wrapping your hands around their throat. What's your plan if you don't want this if you don't want these people taken out of society, if you don't want them killed? And I know you guys go, well, they are taken out of society. They're put in prison. What, for rehab? What do you think prison does? What do you think a life sentence does? Why do you care about rehabilitation if they're never going to get out of prison? Who cares if they're rehabilitated? You think Richard Ramirez or you think James Holmes is going to be a crazy problem in prison? Do you think he's going to go in there and he's going to be the hit and he's going to be the tough guy and the leader? No, they're weirdos in society who Richard Ramirez, when he was caught, ran from the mob of people who were trying to notice, who knew it was him and knew he was the Night Stalker, chased him down. He ran from them like a pussy and then was caught trying to steal a car, and that's how they found him, because the cops, again, could not get a lead on him because he didn't just kill 15-year-old hitchhikers. He was all over the map. What's your plan, liberals? I know that this is fun. This is one of my greatest loves is when liberals try to start getting fiscal. They start breaking down costs. And that's the thing that they always like to say about execution is they say, well, it's cheaper to house an inmate than to execute them.
Rope doesn't cost that much.
Not at all. Or a bullet.
But that's when people say, okay, ammunition, but a rope you buy once, you can use over.
Yeah.
And over and over and over again.
And going on that, you brought up something good. You brought up other methods than we use now. Why is that the noose we can maybe even argue because you have a good there's sometimes a small percentage of a chance that you might not die. You just break your neck and be in agony, or you'll die, but it'll be 15 minutes later. A single bullet to the back of the head. Why is that less barbaric or less humane than strapping somebody into a chair and injecting them with so many drugs that their heart stops, or even the electric chair? What would you rather want? If I gave you an option right now, bullet in the back of the head.
Bullet.
Okay, period. Almost above anything, right?
Yeah. I don't want lethal injection. Definitely don't want to be electrocuted. The gas chamber?
No.
I mean, no. Yeah, just shoot me.
So how is that cost more expensive than housing somebody for like Richard Ramirez would have been 50 years? Now I kind of get it. I looked into why the process is so expensive, and it has nothing to do with what we would think. Oh, it's feeding him, and it's clothing him, and it's sitting him down and having having him learn different trades, and that's what's expensive. That's not the cost of why it's so expensive to house inmates. It's the appeals process. So in a way, the liberals, for once, with social issues, with fiscal issues, they're correct. It is more expensive, strictly because the system is expensive and it's broken. It costs so much money for these idiots to continue appealing, and these lawyers, after all the evidence is shown and they were found guilty. The appealing. And these people, I mean, no offense, I don't think Richard Ramirez was a Hilton sister. He didn't have the money for this, so of course every penny of every appeal is strictly coming out of our pocket. So this blows my mind, but of course the liberals automatically will think it's better for the society, but honestly, the system's just expensive. Jeremy, what you got?
Hey, Brian, it's Jeremy. Hey, I just wanted to comment on what you think we should do with these guys. I mean, obviously the cost of, executing them, but got a better idea. Why don't we get all the gangbangers, all the people that are all on death row, give them a bunch of guns, go in the stadium, and let them have at it.
Dude, Running Man style.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Go in and one-time mess, just clean it up and be done with it.
Okay, Jeremy. For a second, I'll play the devil's advocate. I'll play the liberal. What if some of those people in that stadium, and I love your idea, I love the Terradome aspect of it. What if some of those people are innocent?
That's a very good point right there. That's a very good point.
That's only because a libertarian is making a point as a liberal. A liberal would go on about, well, you don't know what that person's background was. Maybe their parents fought a lot, and that some bull crap like that.
Well,
go ahead, Rob.
I would say that if a couple people, what are the chances of the percentage of the people being innocent in that group is greater than those that are guilty? So
in death row, it's next to nothing. Maybe people doing 10 to 15 years for drugs, there's a chance. People in death row,
and that's what I mean. Then just if one person dies, but it hinders the society from wanting to do something bad because they know they're going to get the death penalty, then that's the chance you're going to have. That should be okay. Yeah. And it sucks for that one person, but you're never going to know anyway. Yeah. Except for that person,
Jeremy, I like your idea. I like your creativity. I'm completely down to. I think what you described is pretty much Raiders games, anyways. But I do like your idea. So thanks for calling Nothing to Do, Jeremy.
All right,
All right, bud. But did he say love you?
No.
I thought he said, all right, love you.
Did you feel loving feelings from the call?
I like that. Yeah, I like his idea, and that argument that liberals make, it does make you think because you put yourself in that circumstance. What if you are Richard Kimball? What if you are the fugitive, and you're screaming it's the one-armed man, and it's honestly not you? Do the ends justify the means, I think is what you're getting at, Rob.
Yeah.
Another argument that liberals make, which is something that you just said, which is it's kind of a deterrent to the rest of society, is that doesn't work. That there's no such thing as a deterrent, that if there was such thing as a deterrent, no one would do crime because the penalties are so harsh. The drug penalties, which, again, if we want to go into my liberal side, drug penalties are ridiculously strong, specifically in California. They're harsh. I mean, you get 15 years for distribution first time. I mean, your first offense, you're getting 15 years. So, yeah, in that sense, do you think it deters? Do you think the death penalty deters people? Specifically, I think we've killed 3 people in the last 10 years, by the way. So,
well, and them saying that it doesn't actually work, they're probably right, because what is it? You can appeal like as many times as you want. You're on death row for, like, Ramirez, 30 years? Something like that?
Yeah, 89.
Yeah, so
25 years.
Yeah,
25
so...
years.
And prison isn't exactly the hardest. I mean, I don't know prison. I have had friends that have gone to prison, and yes, it is hard time. It sucks there, but it isn't 17th century stone walls, and you're in your own little room, and you don't get anything but broth and a biscuit.
Right.
Because that would suck. Compared to that, prison is easy.
I love that people talk about how the worst part about being in prison is boredom. It's like, really, you think that's the worst?
Yeah, and I'm sure there's what back to the death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
If the death penalty was you're sentenced to death, now we're taking you outside the courthouse and we're killing you, and there was no time to sit in a prison for 20 years, there was no, you can go and appeal as many times as you want, then it would start to turn, and then as far as cost goes, that would save money because you're not housing anybody.
Right.
So if you changed it, then yeah, I think it would deter people from.
I didn't know if you heard me earlier what the costs come from. It's not the housing. It's appeals.
There you go.
It's the legal process. That's why when the liberals say it's so much more expensive to keep them, it's more expensive to kill them than to keep them alive. It's just the appeals process. It has nothing to do with the person. It has nothing to do with the cost of the electricity in the chair in Old Sparky. It has nothing to do with the chemicals. It has nothing to do with Brian Fridays at 5 on KCAA 1050 AM. Like that plug. I'm getting better. I'm getting more professional.
Yeah.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's our busted legal system.
Yeah, why do we have judges? To have a judge is to pass judgment on someone, and that's supposed to be the end-all, be-all.
Yeah.
Well, what the heck's the point of the judge if you can just appeal what he's sentenced you to?
And you know what's even funnier? The Amanda Knox case in France.
Mm-hmm.
The difference with France than America is in France, even if you're innocent, you're proven innocent, the court system can't appeal your innocence.
Ooh.
In America, you can only appeal a guilty sentence.
Yeah.
You can't be tried twice for the same crime because double jeopardy. So I like what you're thinking what you're thinking about the appeals issue. I think I don't think we should completely go without the appeals process because there are people that could be innocent. There are people at a lower, and this is my bleeding heart, there are people at lower tax brackets that don't have the representation that they'd like. They don't have the story that they'd like to tell. They don't have as good of a posse behind them to really represent them in court. And so an appeals can kind of help you at more of a leisure pace go through your case, get donations, get people to help you out, to really look into it and see are you really innocent or are you really guilty? With death, again, back to death row people though. Those are the hardest cases to try. They're the most extenuous. I think in the Richard Ramirez trial, there was over 1,500 jurors interviewed. There was over 100 witnesses. It took years, and this was just for a scumbag who was caught basically red-handed. These people aren't innocent. The percentage of them actually being innocent is so ridiculously small because you have to prove completely beyond a reasonable doubt up against political pressure that most especially California with the amount of liberals we have in the state, they don't like the death penalty. With all that pressure against you, still having to prove that person should be put to death, it's very difficult. I think what we need is a time limit. Just a straight time limit on appeals based on the severity of the crime. And maybe I like that. Just the severity of the crime. You killed someone. You got
2 weeks after conviction is good enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at it like
good, yeah.
Look at it like that. If you're proven innocent too, by the way, let's go into the time it takes to kill somebody. Richard Ramirez, dead today, warm in his bed in a freaking hospital, natural causes, which is great. At 53 though, so I hope that bastard died of stress. I hope every night he couldn't sleep and he.
Agony or hurting on the inside, kind of.
I hope so.
Flu symptoms.
You know, he got his teeth. One of the ways they caught him because the women who he let live, they would always describe he had horrible breath. This son of a bitch. I'm saying that a lot because I hate this Richard Ramirez so bad. Mainly from my childhood. I remember when I was 5, my mom being terrified. She was a single mother with 2 kids, terrified of Richard
all
Ramirez.
Of LA. This is like he was the #1 serial killer. Okay, I don't have the actual stats, but he was. A lot of L.A., that's where the whole bars on your windows kind of...
Really?
That a lot of people, as my mom told me, that they put bars on their windows at their house. We lived in Culver City.
Okay.
And everybody did it.
Yeah.
He had everybody scared because he would go anywhere. It didn't matter.
So this dude who you can imagine is raping the woman, and as she's getting raped, staring at her murdered husband, and his breath just pouring on her face. And that's how they would say it. Through their agony and their hell, and now they're going to have to grieve, and their life is destroyed for the next,
So through all
they're
that,
still
they're
living with
thinking,
it.
can you just have a Tic Tac?
Yeah, pretty much. That's what that was all the cops really had to go with. He had bad skin and worse teeth. So they looked for Steve Buscemi for a time, but thankfully he got out of it. That was a little Reservoir Dogs joke. But yeah, I like the time limit. I like that it kind of puts if people. This goes to the Boston thing. Can you believe that this son is getting donations? That one of the surviving bomber is getting donations from groups, from people. I mean, in America, it's not like he's getting it outside of the country.
These people, man. Some people are just.
I don't understand what they're trying to do. Even the girls hitting on the Boston guy. At least he was kind of attractive. Richard Ramirez met a freelance journalist while he during his trial in 1988. His trial wrapped up in 1989. Met a woman, and they were married. So this guy, who's not an attractive guy, draws pentagrams on his hand, shows it to the media, has zero remorse, unattractive dude. And it looks like an old Asian lesbian woman, with rotten teeth. And he's getting proposals. What's wrong with our society? Can't those people be put to death with him? She said that too. She said the day that he's put to death, she's going to kill herself. So does this qualify? Can she kill herself today?
Go for it. I don't think anybody's going to stop her.
Yeah, I mean, at least with
let's see if it's in the news tomorrow.
At least with Scott Peterson, he was at least an attractive dude. You can at least say, he was attractive.
Like Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was an attractive guy. He
charming,
had all kinds of women throwing themselves at him long after he was in prison.
So at least with that, it kind of shows that women
people are.
But hey, me and you, I believe, a few weeks ago on this very show, we're talking about how cute Jodi Arias was, who brutally murdered her husband. I told you she had naked pics on the internet. You're like, what?
I started looking it up. Well, maybe. Yes, I did. Yeah.
I think she took those naked pics, by the way, 10 minutes before she slaughtered her.
Don't ruin it.
Sorry.
Don't.
Let's make it hotter. Some people, it would make it hotter.
Yeah, the people that are, Richard Ramirez lovers or whatever.
But Richard Ramirez, he's dead today. He got his teeth fixed in prison. How much that cost you, liberals, by the way? Or cost us? Got his teeth fixed. He probably got some Proactive for his skin. Probably got a haircut. Probably got deloused. And had some nice rehab time. Had some nice game room time and some TV time. Just awaiting his execution for 50 years. I don't think you're as nervous about being executed if you got a good 50 years. That's about me and you being nervous right now, us being 30 and worrying about when we're going to die. It's about the same level of anxiety. Except we don't have to worry about finding a job or supporting anybody.
Yeah.
Actually, it doesn't sound like too bad of a gig.
And if you know you're going to prison, eventually, you got to think maybe you'll get caught. Go with serial killer. Because you go in as... Has anyone heard about a serial killer in prison getting the crap kicked out of him?
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Did he?
Yeah, he got murdered.
Okay, Jeffrey Dahmer because he was raping and eating children.
Yeah,
people don't have it. That's. But
well, and for the fame variety, I mean, automatically, if you're the dude who killed Jeffrey Dahmer, I think the guy actually killed Jeffrey Dahmer and his cellmate or something. But yeah, you get some prison cred, I'm guessing. If you're the one who takes Dahmer, but yeah, even Dahmer to an extent. I think even people in prison, even the black gangbangers and all those dudes, they still have that code, which you kind of have to respect in a weird way. I don't know why. It's like having rules and
no women, no children.
No women, no children. Yeah. No, it's kind of like having rules in war.
Right.
It doesn't make sense when you think about it. But you're like, at least
no fighting on Christmas.
Yeah, and it's
really not
playing
nowadays.
Soccer. I think in World War II they played soccer on Christmas, like Germany and then.
Did they? France, well, I know that they could hear each. They would sing together. From their
God, that's weird.
They're on the other side of the foxholes, and they can hear. They're all singing the same song, one English, one German. That's nuts. But that's the respect. That's not nowadays. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah. Prison's cool with the rules like that. So I think when they looked at Jeffrey Dahmer, a lot of black people, even if they're really evil, they tend to be in prison. They tend to be religious. So I think they just look at Jeffrey Dahmer as being just an evil bastard. And even Richard Ramirez. I mean, people, even in my neighborhood, I don't live in a bad neighborhood, but it's not really the best. It's got a lot of college kids and even got a lot of a lot of parties and things like that, and people won't call the cops. The parties can go till 3 a.m., but the second it sounds like a woman's about to get slapped or it turns domestic, or if a woman sounds like she's beating her kids or yelling at her kids, people call the cops or people get involved. So it's weird. It's kind of a weird thing we pass off in society for what's acceptable and what we'll kind of deal with. So that was a fun show. We went all around the world with that. Richard Ramirez and Brian Perkins, I'll put you in the same category. Hopefully you have the same fate. This was Nothing to Do Radio. Please go on my website, nothingtodoradio.com. We got all the past shows, including this one. Go on iTunes. You want to check it out. Also got our YouTube up and going. So hit some subscriptions on that, man. I'd love to see what you guys think of this fine here program, Nothing to Do Radio. Talk to you guys next week.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.